A war despot demands tireless devotion from their underlings. For those sworn to serve beneath a war despot must offer them conquest and tribute, or suffer the consequences. Swollen by dark powers, they lead their forces with unrelenting force to overpower their foes, using their host as an extension of their conquering ambitions. Hello and welcome. Today we're delving into the fiery depths to paint a hot-tempered war despot from the Forge and Therma. Right then, let's get painting, shall we? On screen now is the list of paints used to paint our war despot. These paints are just our recommendation, so feel free to swap out any of these for something that best suits you. Along with those are the additional tools we've used today. To keep things dark in the recesses, I've undercoated the model in Chaos Black. And with that, we're ready to go by tackling all the metal areas first. Beginning with Canoptek Alloy, painting this the armor trim and other various parts you'd like to have as this lighter tone. Alternatively, using a lighter gold like Skullcrusher Brass on the areas like the beard decorations and the occasional armor trim helps break up the metallics across the model. Painting these first will let you be a little messier around the armor too, as I'm using Iron Warriors next to paint the rest of the plate armor, and Glaive Blade, in this dark metal colour. Using the tip of the brush to run next to the raised trim, letting the brushstroke glide exactly where you want it to. The last metallic base coat I'm applying is Iron Hand Steel for a bright clean metal finish to the weapon's handle and metal skirt. With the metallics base coated, let's move on to the rest of the colours. But before we do, I'll freshen up the water pot to avoid any metallic bits getting into the next paints. Lovely jubbly. Next, I'll apply a coat of Rakarth flesh to his face, giving his skin an eerie, chaotically warped tone. Then for a rich, deep purple, I'm using Phoenician Purple to paint both the belt and sleeves. Looking at the box art, there are 4 gemstones on the decorations on his beard that are also purple rather than red, so I'll paint these in this colour too to match. For the insides of the sleeves, I'm using Deepkin Flesh, applying a couple of coats of paint in this area to block in the colour. I'll also run the side of the brush around the cuffs, leaving a thick line of white along the edges. While I have this paint ready, I'll also use this on the handle of the gun and to pick out the teeth now his face is dry. With those painted up, I'll tidy up with Abaddon Black around the fabric at the base of the metal skirt, gun holster and beard where some of the other colours may have gotten on. Excellent work. This war despot is starting to take shape with just a few colours already. Now it's time for the remaining gems across his beard and helmet, base coating these with Mephiston Red. Be careful here and take your time while going around the metals. If mistakes do happen, just tidy up with the previous base coats. If you are up for it, it's a great colour as well to paint his eyes too. The last paint to add before shading is Dawnstone. Using this first to paint the rock in a nice rocky grey. Then using just the tip of the brush to carefully pick out the beard hair, running the brush along each section to highlight the raised details while leaving the recesses black. I'll then add an edge highlight along the black fabric and leather detailing, leaving us with just the horns to paint. For these, I'm mixing 1 part Dawnstone on a palette with 2 parts Lamia Medium for a thinner consistency. Then using the main body of the brush, I'll pull the paint from the base of the horn towards the tip, applying each layer of paint a little further up each time. This will leave more and more pigment nearer the top, creating an easy transition from dark to light on each horn. Good going! With each part of the model now painted, we're ready for shading. For this, I'm using Targol Raid Shade to cover everything. It's a fantastic shade for the job, darkening the model with this lush reddish-brown tone. Some areas may prefer a second coat for a darker finish. Take the spear shaft on the horns. On the official colour scheme, they've done this really nice blend, which can be easily replicated by allowing the shade to pool a little towards the bottom. And once it's dried, it will give you an easy blending effect. The sleeves are also slightly darker than the belt, which is where adding a second coat after the first has dried can shift the colour, darkening it even further. The shade has brought out all of the details in one fell swoop, and we can call the war despot ready for the gaming table. But let's take things a little bit further with a few extra steps. Let's start this off by highlighting all of the metallics with Stormhost Silver, picking out the edges of the glaive, armour plates, and any other raised details to give it that hard-worn metal look. I'm edge highlighting this model, but you can easily use a dry brush on the tops of the armour and the glaive to get a similar result. With the silver highlights in place, I'll add a second coat of Targol Raid Shade over the metallics one last time. This will now let the highlight stand out against the now even darker metals, while adding even more that reddish toned depth to the armour. Next, I'm doing a 2-stage highlight next to all of the black details. First, go over the Dawnstone highlights with Dawnstone, including the horns. As this shade has darkened the previous slightly larger line, it allows the next highlight to subtly stand out next to it. I'll then go in with a touch of Deepkin Flesh for the sharpest corners, especially around the horns and the top of his teeth. This is also a good time to give the insides of the sleeves a quick neaten up after the shading, for a clean cut look. For the purples, I'm using Phoenician purple to just uplift the sleeves, whereas the belt wants a lighter purple like Genestealer purple to define the ridges. This will also work for highlighting the purple gems. Then, Wild Rider Red picks out the rest of the gemstones' highlights. I also like to give gemstones a little reflection dot. This is where I'll go back in with Deepkin Flesh, just adding a very small dot in the same corner on each. Now the highlighting is complete, we have one last bit to paint. The Demonic Glow. For this, we'll need but one paint. Hexwraith Flame. This is added to the base of the glaive's blade, straight from the pot, and gently placing the paint on the surface. I'll also add this to the runes and the power orb, leaving an easy peasy green glow to the blade. And there he is! Our War Despot is finished with an Astrogranite base to match. Ready to stomp skulls in the name of Hashut. With a blade pulsating with dark sorcery and armoured in dulled yet glimmering plate armour, you'll find far safer foes to come across. Just not as fashionable. For more painting videos, head on over to our YouTube channel. Or if you need more hands-on help, you can always pop into one of our Warhammer stores where our friendly staff will be more than happy to help. Thanks for watching, ciao for now, and I'll see you in the next one.